Hi, happy August. I am Paul Chartier. This is Heart of Gold. This is my friend Mark Berger with Special Olympics. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks
Good.
for coming in.
Happy to.
This will air in August, but today as we tape, it's a special birthday.
It is. We're taping this. It's funny that it ended up being this way. We're taping it on Eunice Kennedy Shriver's birthday. Eunice was obviously the founder of Special Olympics globally now. It was in her backyard when it started, and then it started from there. It went to a global movement. Our first big event was what they called the International Games at the time in 1968 in Chicago, and 3 countries were represented: the United States, Canada, and France. For some reason, France was the third one, and they had about 1,100 athletes in Soldier Field. They did track and swimming, and for scale, our state summer games that were just the first weekend in June had 1,400 or 1,500 athletes, give or take. And we participated in 5 sports. The last USA Games had almost 7,000 athletes at it. The last World Games had 8,500, and the last World Games were in Abu Dhabi. So we've gone from, a one day big event in Chicago in 1968 to 8,500 people in the Middle East.
It's really big
for a week and a half.
It
is, and the thing that always strikes me. I told somebody a story today. I met her once. I shook her hand once. And I encountered her at the first USA Games in 2006. And she came out on the stage, and people hadn't expected her to show up, and we were presenting bowling awards. The bowling for the event was in Ames, bowling was in Des Moines. So the bowlers came back and got their awards in front of a big theater where everybody could see them. And when she walked out, she got an ovation like none I had ever heard before. And it was the first time I really understood that the level of affection that our families, that friends of our athletes, that other athletes that were in the crowd have for her, because they understood what her vision meant to their life. Our population went from largely being warehoused prior to 1968 to now, having jobs, driving cars, being accepted in schools, and every day, still we see that grow a little bit every day, and it's been fun to be a part of for the years that I've had the opportunity to.
These are special people, and what inside of you, because you're marketable, you could go a lot of places and do different things. What is making you stay committed to Special Olympics?
Well, I think the opportunity to help not our athletes to improve. They already have everything they need.
They just want to participate.
My job with Special Olympics, and I'm our communications director, and the thing that I really enjoy is getting the opportunity to help them tell their stories, to help them go out and, we did a basketball camp with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist the other day. Make sure that the news is out there to see them participate, to see the quality of athletes they are, how hard they work, how much it means to them to have the opportunity to compete. And that's really my favorite part of it. My favorite events that I've been a part of I've been to all 4 of the USA Games they've held. And it's easier, I come from a sports background. I believe in the power of sports. I understand what sports did for me as a kid. And I think that was really the genius of Eunice Kennedy Shriver. She's a Kennedy. They're an athletic family. She's no different than them. And she really believed in sports and that people with intellectual disabilities should have the opportunity, because she knew how important sports were. You build confidence, you build self-esteem, you learn how to succeed and fail, and to handle both of those things. And those are all part of the learning process that helps our athletes in school and work. But sometimes we're not the easiest sports program to digest from a news standpoint. But at the USA Games we are, because there's 50 of us instead of 1,500 of us. We're sending information back to hometowns so it gets spread out a little more, and it's fun. To come from kind of a media background. I came from college athletics, sports information, and to have made the contacts over the years to be able to say, hey, you've got to look at this. And as video's gotten easier to create and share, that's made it a whole lot easier.
We have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time.
Sure.
I want to talk about some things, but talk about the events you've got coming up and how people can go to the website and find out more.
It's funny because everybody, the first question they ask is, when is the Special Olympics? We are a year-round program, and that's what I think people don't understand. I referenced the Summer Games earlier. That's still our biggest event. It's the one that people know us by. But right now, we're running softball leagues in Georgetown and there's I think 25 teams or 20 teams in the Georgetown softball league. We need scorekeepers at that as long as that league runs. We need certified officials at that for as long as that league runs. Coming right on the heels of that, we'll start our bowling season. We'll have bowling tournaments that come up in October here in Lexington. We'll need people to man the alleys for that, to work as lane workers. So there's all these things that happen. We have fundraisers coming up. The Big Brown Truck Pull in Lexington is in August, and that's a great event. It's August 17th.
And it's held where?
At Texas Roadhouse in Beaumont Center. And it's teams of 15 that pull a UPS 18-wheeler to see how fast they can pull it 12 feet.
Why is it at Texas Roadhouse?
Texas Roadhouse has been our biggest corporate sponsor for a very long time. This year we will celebrate 20 years with Texas Roadhouse.
Who are the owners?
It's
Bruce Stebbins?
Bruce, it's the
Mary.
local guys. They've got, now it's Eric McCarthy and his wife Robin are running the 2 stores.
Okay.
I thought you were, Kent, it always is funny because Kent Taylor is the founder and CEO of Texas Roadhouse. There's also a Kent Taylor sportscaster in Louisville, and it's always
confusing.
That's right. But they've been with us for 20 years, and they still do the biggest fundraiser. They do a golf outing in Louisville, and they raise about $150,000 a year for us.
Nice people.
They're great, and it's a great culture. But so they host a lot of our events. They host the Polar Plunge in February. They host the truck pull in August. And so even if you're not on a team, it's a great night to go over there to Texas Roadhouse August 17th and hang out and watch the show, because we've got a carnival set up and some other things.
Okay.
So our website is soky.org. You can always find upcoming events. We've got a calendar on there. Click the volunteer now thing. You'll see all the list of events that we've got coming up. Also coming up in August, we've got the state equestrian competition. Will be August 18th at Lakeside Arena in Frankfort. That's a unique thing. Not a whole lot of states offer equestrian events, but we're in Kentucky, so I feel like we probably ought to do that.
Yes.
And we've had a lot of we've had athletes in the past go on to World Games and equestrian events and things like that. So that's a unique event that you don't see in a lot of states. That's a lot of fun for us.
What I wanted to also talk about is people that are Special Olympians. What do they add to our community?
They add immeasurably to our community. I think one of the greatest things, and it's most of the people who are familiar with our population immediately recognize our athletes with Down syndrome, right? Our athletes with Down syndrome bring just sort of a constant level of joy to the world around them, and it's sort of universal, and people who've been around the population recognize it right away. But all of our athletes, you can learn something from them every time you're around them. How hard they have to work, how hard they've had to work to be accepted in their communities in a lot of cases, how hard they've had to work to be accepted in their schools. And like I mentioned before, I think as you spend more time around our population, and our population again is people with intellectual disabilities. That's how you qualify for Special Olympics. You take a little bit of sort of their approach to the world away when you part ways with them. You understand sort of the work it takes. You understand that things aren't always easy for them, and you learn to appreciate what you have, and you learn to appreciate how hard they work, and really. I think for people that spend a lot of time around Special Olympics or in the workplace with our population, you just learn how capable they are. And I think that was the thing that Eunice Shriver saw in them before anybody else did, that people with intellectual disabilities can go to work, they can go to school, they can succeed in both of those arenas, they can succeed in the sports arena. And
they're contributors.
Yeah, they contribute, and they make every environment they're in better. I mean, that's the big push now is for people with intellectual disabilities in the workforce, because they improve workforces. They improve the workplaces in which they work every day, and people enjoy being a part of them. And there's some great employers we've got a lot of athletes that work in, Kroger being one of the biggest
Keep
ones.
going, talk about
Walmart is another big one that employs a lot of our population. And we've got an athlete named Ryan Bartz up in Georgetown. He's become famous for being involved with Scott County Athletics, and then he's been at a lot of our events, or a lot of our bigger events, so he's gotten a lot of media coverage for that. But he works at the Kroger, and people go in through his line just to get a chance to say hello to him during the day, and that's not uncommon. Like that's a pretty common reaction to our population.
There's a book called Clowns of God.
Okay.
And the premise that I took from it is we think we're superior because we don't have any barriers, but the population that makes God happy are the ones that don't sin. And who are they? a lot of Special Olympians.
Sure, and it's like we feel like we don't have barriers, but I think we overlook a lot of things, and it's just in a lot of cases maybe it's a little bit easier for us to overcome them. But it's important to be around our population and see the things that they overcome, and
Absolutely.
and how happy they are to get the opportunity to overcome it. And I think one of the things about volunteering at Special Olympics, I was just talking to somebody about this, is there are jobs at Special Olympics events that you need absolutely no sports background for whatsoever. But you get the opportunity to be there when our athletes succeed and to share in their joy and to congratulate them and to be a part of that experience. And that's, I think, one of the things that makes Special Olympics volunteer work so special, because it's not every organization, and all volunteer work is valuable, but it's not every organization you get that immediate feedback from the people that you're helping. And I think that's one of the things that people really love about our program.
And I would believe that people leave with a full heart of happiness when they leave and go home about what they just did.
I've never had anybody tell me they had a terrible time.
Yeah.
I can be honest. And it's I always tell people to if you don't want to be hooked on it, don't come, because you will be hooked and you'll come back time and time, and we want you to. We just gave a Volunteer of the Year award to Irv Vanover from down in Danville, who's been volunteering with this program for 32 years, and he's like, you really gotta step away a little bit.
No,
Nope,
I understand.
Nope. He's
Yep,
always back.
yep.
Always back, and that's a common reaction.
Give your website again.
It's SOKY.org, and our office number 502-695-8222. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. You can find it all right there at SOKY.org and follow us.
We got about a minute and a half. Any story, any Special Olympian that comes to mind that you have seen kind of just blossom with your activities?
Yeah, we had a young man. One of my favorites is we had a young man from Nicholasville. He was with us at the USA Games in 2010 in Nebraska, named Colin. And when we had him we do a camp before we go to make sure everybody's going to be able to handle being away from family and things like that. And he really struggled at the camp a little bit. He didn't talk to anybody. He kept to himself. But he still went to the games, and he didn't talk for the first couple of days to anybody. But we're driving by. They have this big mastodon on campus. And he's like, "Oh, a mastodon." We're like,
"Where'd that come from?"
He's like, "We have to stop." And we're like, if Colin tells us we're going to stop, we have to stop. So we stopped, and it turns out he'd wanted to be a paleontologist, and he had to rub the mastodon's foot for good luck. And he went out, and he was the best swimmer at the games that year. He won, I think, 3 gold medals and a silver medal. He was just outstanding. But when we got back, after that event, he talked to us all the time.
It was the icebreaker.
And his mom told us that after that, he really came out of his shell. He ended up going to the World Games in Athens. And swam in the World Games in Athens, and that's one of the great things about Special Olympics, is that it opens the world to people who wouldn't have necessarily otherwise had those kinds of opportunities, and it's amazing to sit and watch.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you don't know the answer, make up a number.
Okay.
How many Special Olympians have gone through the process of Special Olympics? Nationally?
Oh.
Nationally.
Currently, we list 6 million athletes worldwide.
Gosh.
And so, obviously, over the course of the last, we turned 50 last year. Over the course of the last 51 years, many have come and gone over that time.
Yeah.
We tried to guess for Kentucky, and we just couldn't come up with a number, because at one point we had 25,000 active athletes in the program when we were, really involved in the schools, basically doing public or physical education for the schools. So, our number here is probably 500,000.
And you talk about 25,000. That fills up Rupp Arena.
Oh,
Mark Berger. Thanks a
Paul,
million.
thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Great to see you. I'm Paul Chartier. We'll be right back on Heart of Gold.